Welcome to Changing Higher Ed, a podcast dedicated to helping higher education leaders improve their institutions. With your host, Dr. Drum McNaughton, CEO of The Change Leader, a consultancy that helps higher ed leaders holistically transform their institutions. Learn more at thechangeleader.com. Changing Higher Ed is sponsored by Blackbaud, the world's leading cloud software company powering social good. With their cloud solution for higher education, Blackbaud connects thousands of campuses worldwide. Visit blackbaud.com/highered to learn how they can help your institution deliver a better experience. And now, here's your host, Drum McNaughton.
Thank you, David. Our special guest today is Dr. Billy Hawkins, president of Talladega College. Dr. Hawkins has served as Talladega's president for 12 years, and during this time, the college has been completely transformed and revitalized, including quadrupling enrollment, and the institution is now listed among Princeton Review's best colleges in the Southeast and U.S. News & World Report's most innovative colleges. This is not Dr. Hawkins' first rodeo. Prior to Talladega, he served as Texas College's president, another HBCU, and through his leadership, they increased enrollment by 82% in his first year and regained their reaccreditation from SACS and their membership in the United Negro College Fund. Dr. Hawkins currently serves as chair of the 36 presidents of the member institutions for the United Negro College Fund's board of directors, and he was the first African American to chair the Alabama Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. He's one of higher ed's best turnaround specialists, and he's here to talk with us about what he's done at Talladega, especially over the past couple of months, to continue its growth while taking into account the COVID crisis we are all facing. Billy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me on your show.
My pleasure. I'm very excited to have this. You're going to be the first HBCU president we've had on the show, and along with that, I know you're very involved with the United Negro College Fund. You chair the board there. This is a real honor for me to have you.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be the chair of the 37 member presidents at UNCF, and to work with the Dr. Lomax and his staff. Been in this role now for about a year, and so it's a great role to be in, but right now it's a challenging role, trying to work with the UNCF board of directors and the UNCF staff to making sure that we're able to service our 37 member institutions.
Well, it's wonderful. I remember a podcast that I did a year or so ago with Scott Cowan, who we talked about earlier, the former president at Tulane. He talked about how there was no playbook for Katrina. And same thing with this, there's really no playbook. And so it sounds as though with the UNCF presidents, you've got that advisory board right there, you all do, to be able to talk through particular issues that are unique to HBCUs and come up with a game plan based on what's best for your own individual college. Is that true?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I've said to the 37 member presidents, and so we've been in touch with each other through Zoom, and I've already said that we've talked more in this short period of time than we've probably talked in the history of the existence of UNCF. And so, my departing words to the presidents was recently that we have got to work together to work through this. And I've said to them, what I know, okay, you're going to know. And so any challenges that we have as we receive the funding from the Department of Education, we're going to work through this because, as you indicated, there was not a playbook for Katrina, and there's not a playbook dealing with the coronavirus. That's how we feel that we're going to work through it, by the connectivity that we have through Zoom and being on conference calls over the telephone.
Mm-hmm. So you guys at Talladega, you made the decision in mid-March to send students home. That was not an easy decision for you guys to make. It was the right decision, but given your population And, you've got international students, you've got students from homes that may not have Wi-Fi, no computers, things like that. That's very challenging. How did you deal with that?
Well, yeah, it was challenging. And as I observed what other institutions were doing around the country in higher education, I did that first, and then I made sure that we sat down, talked about it, and thought through it. Because whatever move that we made in sending our students home, that would be a final move, once they departed from the campus. So you're right. We had to be concerned about all of our students, where they come from, international students, as well as we had students that were attending Talladega from what the United States of America was calling the hot spots, California, New York, Michigan. Those were hot spots. Mm-hmm. New Orleans. Well, quite a few of our band students are from New Orleans. And so we had to discuss that. And then you had spring breaks coming up during that time. And I said to my staff, we're going to make the decision that once we release these students, then they're home. We're not going to allow them to go on spring break, bring them back. We don't know where they have been, and risk folks' lives, because at that point in time, we didn't know anything about this virus, how it spread, how you could become in contact with it. And so that's kind of the way and then our faculty had to gear up for the students to leave. And so we discussed and laid it all out before we made that move. But one of the things we said to the students, that if you did not want to leave, we didn't make them leave. So that's kind of the way we handled that, because some students didn't have access to technology. So we set that up in the library so they could still go and take their classes online in our library. And so we were very flexible with that. And even to this day, today, some of those students are still on campus. And so we gave them jobs working in our physical plant, cleaning dormitories, for the summer. And it's only probably about 7, 8 of them that are left. But that's the way we handled that part in terms of the students departing from the campus, to make sure that the international students were covered, and as well as we work with them financially to get them home. If they needed financial assistance, we have an emergency fund on our campus. Access that to get them home.
That's amazing. And also, when I was reading in the article that you wrote in Education Dive, you talked about how you partnered with local businesses to help students in that way. I mean, that's to me the definition of being student-centered. And that's fabulous.
Well, certainly, we reached out to the community, and of course, it was not the first time that we've reached out to the community. Since I've been here as president for 13 years, I've considered the community as our partner. Town Down is very important, to us here at Talladega. We have 2 major educational institutions in this city. Of course, Talladega College, and then we have the Alabama School for the Deaf and Blind here. And so 2 major educational institutions. So the president there and I, we often talk. Matter of fact, he's on our board, the president of AIDB, and how important these institutions are to this city. So Dr. Massia and I, we connect, we support one another, and that becomes the city council has been very, very helpful, to us and local businesses, and so that's been important to us, and they were very helpful as we made the transition and our students leaving the campus.
That's fabulous. Really love to hear that, because I don't hear that from many college presidents, that they have such a great relationship with the city in which they live, the businesses. That's fabulous. I'd like to swap over to a little bit of the CARES Act, because like I said before we were talking on the show, you mentioned that you've gotten about $2 million out of the CARES Act, which has really been helpful for your students. You told me about a unique way that you have been able to parse that money out to students. Could you share that with your fellow presidents, please?
Well, at Talladega, we've received up to this point a little over $4 million. Also, we submitted an application for the PPP loan and also received that for assistance as well. But the first part, the 50-50 part to support the students and how we would push this money out to the students, we created, using the Department of Education's guidelines in terms of what the money would be used for, we created an application, sort of like a grant application, so that the students could go into their My Talladega account, the form's out there, and then fill out that form to receive the funds. And now they did a couple things for us. It gave us hard data, hard information in terms of where they are residing at the present time. Sometimes these students, they'll change addresses 3-4 times. You send stuff to them in the mail, and they never received it. And so they had to go on and fill that out. And then once we received that, and then that triggered the business office to cut a check. And so the first check that our students received was for $500 that went out to the students who have accessed that. Now, if they have not accessed that, then we just didn't blanketly just send that money because we didn't know where we were sending the money. So it gives us a better accounting of sending out those funds. Now, we will send a second one probably right around the 1st of July. And so we're using that. I think it also helps from a retention standpoint. By breaking it up, then we know that they're going to use it on themselves and use it the right way, versus just send them $1,000 check and, who knows. And so we wanted them to appreciate it and understand where the funds came from. And so in my letter to them, I made it real clear that this is part of the CARES Act. Certainly we thank Congress, we thank the Department of Education, and we thank UNCF and Negro College Fund for their leadership, because it was them that really got out in front of this right from the start so that our schools could receive this funding to assist our students as well as our institution.
That's great. And I really like the idea of breaking it up into 2 checks because one, the students have direct needs now, but they're also going to have direct needs coming up in July. And like you say, it is a bit of an incentive to get students back on campus. And being the type of college you are, being on campus is really critical. You were telling me a little earlier about the family aspect, especially how that applies to your marching band. I was just blown away. You're going to have a marching band of 400 members coming up. I mean, that's
right. 440 tubas. I told that.
And 40 tubas.
I'm a big fan of the tubas. We're going to set a national record. We know it'll be a national HBCU record. And of course, my band director who started this whole process with me. So he's kind of looking at the numbers right now to see what does he have to do to have the largest band ever in the history of HBCUs with, by the way, no football team.
Well, I'll say when you get to the Rose Parade, be sure and let me know. I will be watching for you.
Well, they've had some great performances. Of course, they performed in the presidential inaugural parade, and they've done halftime shows for the New Orleans Saints, and they've done now two Senior Bowls, and they've done on the average of 7 parades in every Mardi Gras for the past 7 years, and have been the lead band and the most richest, largest parades in Mardi Gras. So, our students during a football season, they would probably only average 6 or 7 performances. This band right now is probably over 25 to 30 performances a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fabulous. And I can tell just by seeing your face, this is a source of pride for you, and I'm sure for your entire school. One of the beauties of having a smaller school like yours is you get to know everybody. And I know, based on what you have been telling me, that that's critical for you, for your faculty. It's all part of promoting that sense of family that's so critical for your college.
I want the students to be able to say that, during my college experience, I could walk up and have a conversation with the president. I want them to be able to say that, the president allows students to come to the president's residence. I've had actually some graduates that have come to my home, the president's residence at Talladega, and say, this is the first time I've ever been in this house. And or when I was a student, the president never allowed students to come into the house. And if you leave it up to my wife, she'll have the whole student body over there. Sometimes I'll come home from work. I just go right on upstairs because she'll have 15, 20 young ladies just having girls talk, and so, but that's what it's all about. We've got to be able to connect with them so that we can help them, and we really stress that here at Talladega, from the faculty, to the staff, and I remind them they're our customers, and so you treat the customers right, okay, they'll stick with you, and they'll keep buying your product if you treat the customers right, and that's what way I view it.
Well, you must be doing something right because you've tripled your enrollment since you've been there. You've just rolled out 3 new buildings. So
yes,
you're obviously getting the fundraising, the development monies in, and students, you've told me students are calling you up on the telephone saying, I want to come back now.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing that I'm hearing this from our retention office and from our band director. And then there's just some that I stay in touch myself, because I've got a couple young men that they're from Detroit that I've kind of mentored since they've been here. And so I've called and checked on them and texted to check on them and just telling them to stay safe, because Michigan is one of those hot spots, and even where they live in that Detroit area has been a COVID-19 hot spot. So, just doing that is, that's just a part of me. And I think that, because if you can't connect to these young people, then what are we here for? It's more than the presidency. It's more than the position that anyone holds at the institution. But I continue to say that we've got to first think about that student as our customer. If we can sell that to the students, that we care about them, and any prospective student, then right there, we're going to convince the parents as well as that young person that this is the right place for them.
Mm-hmm. It's like that old president or the old principal told me years ago, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right. You're exactly right. That's a great statement. You're absolutely right.
And so getting the students back, you're doing a lot of things right now that's going to promote that. You talked about, some of the things your retention office is doing.
Well, they're doing weekly podcasts. They're reaching out to the students on a weekly basis, just having chats. I know that there's e-blast that's going out to the students. And then students have different, they have different chat groups. I know the marching band, they have their own. And so, staff getting into those chat groups, sending out positive messages to the students about, what's going on here. We're going to be sending out to them very shortly about some renovations. I've made the decision that, we've got the new residence hall on campus, which they all love, and they all can't live in that. It only holds a couple hundred students. Because of the time that we have, the students being gone since, March 19th, we're renovating every dormitory this summer. I'm kind of thrifty that because I'm hands-on. I'm just not sitting behind my desk in the office. I get involved because I want things to be right. So anyone on this campus will tell you I'm all over the place. And when it comes to whether it's the classroom, whether it's the physical plant, and so we've putting down all new flooring in every residence hall, painting, ordering new furniture where it's needed in the residence hall. And so when they come back here, the returning students, it's going to be a wow effect. Again, that shows them that we care about them. Now, they were complaining about a particular shower area in one of the females' residence halls. Well, when they come back here, that's going to be all torn out and it's going to be new when they return. And so we listen to them and we respond to them. And another way that everyone has a student government on their campus. You have a student body president, etc. I meet with my student leaders every month. Okay, every month. And I bring in the vice presidents, and they're only allowed to sit and listen. Okay.
That must be tough.
Okay. And so, and I bring the director of physical plant as well, because I want them to feel how the students are feeling about what's going on campus. But when we leave the meeting, then we talk about how we're going to fix it if it is a problem. And actually, I'm proud to say on some of those meetings that I've had with the students, they've actually said that, hey, things are fine. Well, when you hear that from the students, then you know that you're doing some things right.
Oh, absolutely, because I've never known too many students to be bashful.
That's right. And they absolutely.
Well, you're obviously doing a lot of things right, Billy. I mean, if I were to take a look at university presidents that are out there, most of them are first time. This is your second rodeo. And as Gordon Gee said to me, he said, yeah, most university presidents, when they get their second gig, they go, well, I've done this before. It's like, he said, no, every gig is different. You got to get to know the people. And that's something that you have certainly done.
Yeah.
And obviously your leadership skills show through, because you turned around Texas while you were there.
Yeah.
I believe you were at
Texas College.
Texas College.
Right.
You were there, and you made your turnaround with that, and you've revitalized Talladega. And my hat's off to you with all that. What if you've got three things that you want to tell your university presidents? What are the three most critical things that you've done or that you're going to be doing, going forward with this whole COVID thing? What would they be?
Well, first of all, you've got to, think about, number one, the students' return to campus. And so you've got to do everything that you can possibly do to make it a safe environment. And that's what the parents will want to hear. We've already ordered 6,000 masks, and we'll be ordering more, getting ready for the students in the fall. I've been on the phone with a company talking about hand sanitizers. I'm going to put hand sanitizers, the stands, in every building on the campus, every floor on the campus. I'm going to flood the campus with those. Rubber gloves. I mean, these are all the things that we're working on right now. And so your preparation, I would say, to a president is very, very important. And I would also say that make sure that you are talking to the right company, because now all of a sudden they're popping up all over the internet that I got a deal for you. Exactly, I got a deal for you, and so you've got to screen through that process, and we've already vetted that, and we're getting ready to go with a company that's going to do my entire campus with us. And matter of fact, this particular company actually is going to be able to put our logo on those stands, which I think
Sweet.
will be a nice touch. So I think
Sweet.
that's important. And then the next thing is that it's that connection to your students. Know how they're feeling throughout this process, but from now until they return, be sensitive to how they're feeling, and you've got to be sensitive to their return to campus. One of the things that I do, I'm into T-shirts, so I will start to the design of a T-shirt and I do it like 3 or 4 times throughout the year. We always do it. It's our victory T-shirt. When we hit another record enrollment, we have a T-shirt that's designed. Every student, every faculty and staff member gets one of those T-shirts. And then I always do one right at Christmas, sort of as their Christmas present. Academic excellence at Talladega College, DIGA Pride, those types of things. So now I've already started thinking about when they return, what is that COVID-19 T-shirt going to look like? Positive energy that I send to them. And I said even yesterday, I see on the plaza of our new student center, I think we're going to have a little barbecue out here and say it's COVID-19 victory party or something of some sort like that. Nice. That's great. That's great retention stuff. So that connection, I would say, to our presidents. The final thing that I would say is that we've got to make sure as presidents that we're sending the message out to the country that the continued importance of on-campus education, not online education. We want to make sure we don't allow it to become confused, that the answer to our problem is online. No, we've got to work hard to make sure that we bring students back to campus.
Well, great. Those are great, 3 great things, and thank you for sharing. So, Billy, what's next for you for Talladega besides bringing students back? I know you're excited about that.
Well, yeah, we're excited about that, and just to continue to grow the institution. That's important. We are. I guess I can officially say that we are exploring the possibility of starting football here at the institution, and so that's on the drawing board. And then I'm excited. We started our first master's program over a year ago in computer science with emphasis in cyber. I'm excited about the master's degree, prospective master's degree programs that the faculty are developing. It's sort of that first one is caught on fire. And so expanding our graduate program offering, I'm excited about that, and the faculty are working towards that. And just continue to do the great things. We've always stood for academic excellence here at Talladega, and I want to continue to see the Presidential Scholars Group. We have a group, we call them Presidential Scholars here at the college. I started this right shortly after I got here. I said to the provost at the time that we want to highlight our presidential scholars. We put our athletes in uniforms to perform on the athletic field. And I said, then I want my presidential scholars in uniform. So we developed a very nice powdered blue blazer, and we've got one in the burgundy that they wear to all of our convocations and sit as a group, and that they're highlighted. It's about, because I want everyone to know that we're about academics here, and so those students need to be highlighted just like athletes are highlighted on the athletic field.
Wow, that's fabulous. Well, Billy, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together today, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been great.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, and hopefully we can do it again, because we're growing the institution, and we really want to invite the public to come to campus to visit our new museum, because that was another big achievement for me that I said to the board. Our murals are worth $50 million.
Wow.
It's unique. It's the only artwork of its type in the world today, and so I was committed to getting this museum up, and it's just a beautiful place, and we want to invite the public to come to campus to see these murals. You owe it to yourself to come and see these murals, because it is unique in itself, and the museum came out wonderfully, and one that presidents want to hear. And I paid cash for the museum, so it's paid for. There's no debt on the museum, and that was my commitment to the board, that we would raise the money and have no debt on that facility. So thanks to the major donor, Dr. William Harvey, who's the president at Hampton University. He's an alum of Talladega, He's been in the presidency 43 years. He and his wife were the major donor, for that facility, along with the state of Alabama, Governor Ivey. I made the case, and so you can't tell me that a private school can't make the case to a governor, and I did. And she gave to this private institution. That's very, very rare that you would see that happen in any state.
Absolutely. Well, again, Billy, thank you so much. This has been wonderful, and I wish you guys, you and Talladega, all the best in the world.
Well, thank you, and we look forward to being on your program again.
Absolutely. We'll do it again sometime this fall, just see how things are going.
Great.
I want to hear more about your 40 tubas.
Okay, that's right. Maybe I'll have the 40 tubas on your show.
Love it. We'll have to do that as some theme music coming in.
That's it.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening this week, and a special thank you to this week's special guest, Dr. Billy Hawkins, president of Talladega College, and for sharing with us how Talladega has approached the COVID crisis and continues to grow. I also want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Blackbaud. Visit blackbaud.com/highered to learn about their cloud fundraising, accounting, education management, scholarship, and analytics solutions that are powering some of higher ed's top institutions. Our next guest is Michael Horowitz, CEO of TCS Education System. Michael has developed a business model of shared services among higher ed institutions. And given the financial challenges that higher ed is facing, this is something that presidents might want to explore.
This episode of Changing Higher Ed was brought to you by Blackbaud, the world's leading cloud software company powering social good. Be sure to visit blackbaud.com/highered to learn how they can help your institution deliver a better experience from admissions to advancement. Changing Higher Ed is a production of The Change Leader, a consultancy committed to transforming higher ed institutions. Find more information about this topic, along with show notes on this episode at changinghighered.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the show, and we would also value your honest rating and review. Email any questions, comments, or recommendations for topics or guests to podcast@changinghighered.com. Changing Higher Ed is produced and hosted by Dr. Drum McNaughton, post-production by David L. White.